Hi, I'm Van. How are you? I want to show you a couple necklaces today that use what I call a continuous twisting pattern. And it unlocks some potentials to do some really cool stuff that I haven't really encountered in some of the other work that I've done to date. The one that's most intriguing to me, though, is what I call the secret message necklace. Should be pretty cool. Let's have a look. Here's the two necklaces I wanted to show off. I made this one first, but it's actually the more complicated one to discuss. That's the secret message necklace. This one's a little bit simpler. When you look at it closely, you can see I only used 4 colors. Let's look a little bit more closely than this to get at the twisting pattern. So why do I call it a continuous twist? Well, you see this little white row right here. If you were to follow this all the way around, it never stops. Now, it's true that there's this little branching off part, and we'll get to that, but this one set of beads never stops. Okay, so it just continues in a coiling pattern all the way around the work and feeds back into itself. So it's continuous twist. The other part with this was I picked a very simple pattern. The person I'm making it for, they requested turquoise-like colors, and so you can see I picked out 3 shades of turquoise, from a darker turquoise to a very light. And really all I did was I made where I start with the white, I make a white border, and it basically just shades into a lighter part in the middle, goes around a ways, and stops. Now, how far did I go? Well, this is for someone that's in Native American culture, and important numbers are 13 and 7. And so if you count the middle lightest color of beads, there's 13 in line. And the 13 coupled with the 12, so when we look at 13, well, how many from white to white? Well, that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and that final one is 18, so there's 18 beads. So you get where you'll see this should be in line. If you look at it closely, every other one, they'll turn on that line, and you can see that there it is. So it turns out that I've got that 13 in there, I've got the 18, so there's a additional symmetry. And other than that, it's very simple, but it looks really complicated. But it's really the same thing wrapping around over and over, but depending on where you're looking at it, it's pretty neat. The idea, though, is that it's kind of like, because of this coiling thing, your canvas ends up wrapping around and around and around. So really, it ends up being one continuous, like, strip of paper. What? This isn't beadwork? Well, no, but I'm trying to get the principle across. You can see that this is some leather strapping that I put on the end of my walking stick so that it's got something to help keep the wood together, to keep these splits from getting any farther. But the point is that this is all made out of one continuous piece of rawhide that's been wrapped around and around and around the stick. If you thought the gap right there was the same thing as these white beads, which is this line that wraps around and around, that's actually one continuous strip of leather or paper or actually beads that you could write on. Getting back to this simple necklace for a minute, how much space do we actually have on one of these things? Well, let's look and see. We've got to have our continuous guy each time, right? So how wide is this? Now remember, it's 12 beads for 2 rows around. You could make something bigger and that would give you more room, but look at this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads. 5 beads is not much room, okay? So what if you wanted to write a message? Well, 5 beads, it would be really hard to make letters, you know. If you can imagine this as one continuous piece of paper, you can put writing and it would stretch around and around and around. But 5 beads wide, oh my gosh. And no border, right? That's 5 beads and you're up against your continuous gap thing. Now, if that was in black and your background was in black or something like that, you could put letters in there maybe, but wow, a height of 5 is very difficult to put a really good alphabet. And the other thing is that it's obvious, right? Wouldn't it be cool if you had something that's just not so obvious, but it's there? Well, see, this is where my computer science background comes in. I was a ham radio operator for a little bit, way back in the day. So have you ever heard of Morse Code? I'm sure you've heard it in movies or on whatever. You'll hear this little you know, it's like the same tone with shorts and longs. And it's called Morse Code. And people actually, what they do is they use these combinations of shorts and longs for each letter. So for instance, A would be a short and a long. Another one would be M. You can see M down there, 2 longs, right? They've already got it coded up for you. You can use this code right here. And if you could work that into beading, you really don't need, what you're trading off is all this complexity here for this little symbol into something less complex but longer. Kind of neat, huh? Well, so what I did was I was like, hey, I want to put a message in here. You know, a lot of times we talk about symbology and abstractness and stuff like this. I said, I actually want to put a message into a necklace. Wouldn't that be cool? So this necklace has a lot of what I would call just freestyle design, where I would just put whatever I wanted to in here, whatever hit me, within the constraints of using 4 colors of blue. And you can see on this one, the continuous is the very darkest blue. It's almost a black. I call it midnight blue. And then I chose to really contrast heavily to actually have a second border, and this is important, a second border of a different color that was obvious. And really, in this case, I chose a very sharp contrast. I went with my lightest blue as the second border. And then that left me 2 other blues to kind of do stuff in the middle. Turned out really good. I just did all kinds of crazy stuff. But in the middle of all this craziness, there's something more. So here we have this blank space that's kind of the setup leading into this. And our very first letter, if you will, we can see it's a dash, and then another dash, and then that, you can see the black, the dark blue border there that says that's the end of that first letter, right? So 2 dashes, that's an M, right? Then I go to the next letter. Well, what's the next letter? It's a dot. See, that's my dot. And then a dash. There it is. Is there any more to this one? Nope, that's the end. Okay? So, M, and then a dot dash is an A. Then we have this other one. It's just a dash. Well, 1 dash only is T. And then the next one, again, it's a T. So that's my friend's first name. That's who this is for. Matt, M-A-T-T. Now I use this, right? There's no dot or dash, so it's solid field, which means emptiness or space, right? So that is a space. So we got M-A-T-T, space, and then I started coding in his last name. Well, his last name starts with an O. An O is a dash, dash. Oh, twisting this is hard. But it's 3 dashes. And it goes on and on and on, right? And so his name runs all the way to the end here. That's the very last dot of his very last letter in his name. Then I put in a space, and then I start up with just freestyle artwork. So there it is. You'd never know it by looking at it, but there is a secret message in this beadwork, and it's my friend's name, the person that this is for. How about that? Now there's all kinds of codes you could use. You could see this was just one example using Morse code to encode, using beads on a necklace, a message. It's a little overt, right? Really trying to say something, and for the most part nobody would even know that that message was in there. Pretty cool, huh? But you don't have to use Morse code. That's just a suggestion. You can come up with your own secret code, spelling out letters or who knows what, and nobody would know but you and whoever you choose to tell. I just told you the secret. Now everybody knows. Not a secret anymore. Unless you promise not to tell. So there's two examples of a continuous spiral necklace and one with a secret code written on it. What are you going to do? The rest of it's even more secret. I basically talked about how small his genitalia are, but yeah, don't tell him that. It's just between us, friends. Have a good one.